Welcome to another episode of Resourceful Women. I am here with Trixie. And Trixie, let's just get right to it this morning. I'll let you introduce yourself and your role.
I'm Trixie. I do the administration and member services for the Mining and Metals Information Sharing Analysis Center. We're a non-for-profit global organization based out of Canada that helps cyber resiliency in the mining and metal sector.
That is a gigantic title. And
Yes.
that means that you probably are rather niche in what you do. And
Yes.
in what you're doing. So cybersecurity in the resource industry, maybe that's a good place to start. 20 years ago, probably not an issue. 10 years ago, probably starting to be an issue, and today probably quite important. So what's your take on the cybersecurity aspect of it?
Well, you are right. A lot of cybersecurity issues have kind of like grown over the years, especially this year, as many countries are trying to secure their critical minerals, and we've seen a lot of increase in threat actor activity.
So that's really that's kind of a chilling thought when you think about the implications. So when you're looking at the bad actor piece of it, what are the bad actors after? Like, is it financial? Is it data breaches? Is it, messing with claims? Like, what are they up to, those bad actors?
We've seen, and this usually is like this is what I get to see from like our members meeting and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of the threat analysis. I get the reports and I send out the notifications and things like that. So, but largely, yeah, it can be anything. Like they're after, and they, from ransomware to to the data breaching. Like those are definitely common venues for what the threat actors are after. And it does, and sometimes they are all over the place.
Yeah, like I always think it's interesting that, we make and I mean, rightfully, laws are lagging because we need to see what they need to be able to do. But I'm always mildly amused when when people are adamant that the laws need to change so that we stop this. And I'm like, you know what, though? So the people who are already breaking the laws, not so committed to following them.
Yeah,
yeah,
make more laws and stuff like that. That will help with things like persecution. But one of the things that we like to focus at the ISAC is creating organizational resiliency in the event of when a mining company or a metals company is experiencing a cyber incident.
Yeah. Prevention rather than prosecution, I think, is a much healthier approach.
Well, prevention is a big part of it, but resiliency is also your ability to withstand when an attack is happening.
Yeah.
And that's the bigger piece. Like that's
okay.
Because the end of the goal, like cybersecurity and like a lot of cybersecurity goals typically don't line up with production goals. It's like, right, it's protect this, protect the data, protect the machines, but not necessarily about, and then sometimes you'll end up with cases of like, you want forensics, right? And that's who done it and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what mining organizations typically really want and they want to focus on is production. And those sometimes come to a head when you are facing an incident, because you're going to have, you can bring in third-party people to help you with your cyber incident, and they'll want forensics. Like they'll keep a compromise there and that. Sorry.
No worries.
It's important to make sure you let the people bringing in to help with that, and that your organization also already has like these priorities going on. So like if you do have like a lockout, what's more important, figuring out who did it or getting your data back or
Yeah,
getting your machines online again, right?
exactly.
Those are conversations that we like to encourage organizations to have, and practice them. Have them with your executive team.
That's exactly where my mind went, is like, how do you practice that? Like, do you do dry runs? Do you do some scenarios?
Yeah, you'll do
Yeah.
scenarios and kind of dry run practices. Like we call them tabletops.
Okay.
It's basically where and you come up with a situation and then you kind of just go through it.
And
And we
then what
also
would you do?
do
Yeah.
at the ISAC, we also have a partnership with some great organizations, one of which allows us to do attack simulations directly onto your computer. And it will spit out a report afterwards that lets you know what failed. So, did your firewalls get compromised? Any of your authentication, you can test that. If you have third-party people who are watching your systems, did they pick up on it? Did you get a phone call? Because they like you can give them a heads up that you're going to do it, but you can also not, and then see if they're actually doing their job for you. Like it's
Does
we do all
somebody
sorts of
respond? Yeah.
yeah. Did somebody respond? Did somebody notice that I ran this simulation on 100 different computers?
Yeah. So, even just saying that, I get a almost like a physical, like a cold adrenaline response to even just thinking about how much damage that could do to an organization. And
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what does it feel like to, try to get into your system and you can't, and you call IT and IT can't, and then what? Oh my God, we're so messed up. What's
Yeah.
happening? Like it's just so scary.
It is, and that brings up like one of the other things that the ISAC we've been trying to like put a focus on is like it's not just about like your controls and your machines when you're dealing with a cyber incident. It's also about the resiliency of the team that that are working on these things. Because
Hmm.
you're right, they are high stress situations. You're dealing with decisions that could potentially bury your organization. If you know about Copper Mountain, that was basically what happened is they got hacked and it went poorly and
Oh,
they are no longer in business.
ay, ay, ay.
So
So
like
how many organizations, I'm wondering now, recognize cybersecurity as one of their critical risks?
it is interesting. EY has done they do like your a top 10 risks for um, mining and metals on a yearly basis. And this year, cybersecurity actually didn't make the top 10. But if you look at what they do have in their top 10, those are all things with a cyber component into it. One of the
Okay.
things to kind of like think about and consider is that cyber is more integrated than it used to be in regards to
Hmm.
mining. Um, Cyber operations are your day-to-day operations. You've got people
Yeah.
putting stuff on the cloud. You've got autonomous haul vehicles, and as you're going towards like your sustainability goals too, that means like more batteries, which means more sensors.
Yeah.
You got sensors on your autonomous vehicles. You got pressure sensors, ventilation systems. It's all part of your day to day. And I think because like cybersecurity doesn't need to be like a top risk, but making sure that your cyber operations are well protected should just come second nature to that.
Yeah. This is a whole new, I think this is a whole new conversation for a lot of people. Um, because we are so used to it that it's almost like air. We know we need it, but we don't really pay too much attention to it. Um, but yeah, my mind is going in a number of different directions. So, how did you come to this work in your career?
I actually, for me, I went to SAIT. I did the Administration and Information Management program, and I did my practicum with the ISAC.
Oh,
They
okay.
hired me 2 weeks in. It was great.
Nice.
um, and like I didn't think I would end up in cybersecurity, let alone mining on top of it. Like my mother did oil and gas. Like she was a project manager for a number of pipelines,
Okay.
oil and gas companies that do pipelines. So I figured I'd end up there, but mining I think is just as important as oil and gas,
Yeah.
if not more so, especially
I
as
always
we,
think of them as cousins.
yeah, they
Yeah.
are cousins a little bit. Because I mean, I think there's mining in oil sands.
Oh, for sure. And so in your experience, you were already familiar with women working in the resource industry from the oil and gas
Yes.
aspect of it. Um, so what was usually I think about what was the schedule, because that's always something that's interesting. So when she was a project manager, was it office or was she field based?
She did both actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories is actually she actually took me on one of her on site visits.
Oh,
They were putting one of her pipelines across the river, and so they needed to detonate the bottom of the river so that they could get it buried so it goes underneath the river,
hmm.
and that was quite the experience.
I was going to ask if you got to go into the field with her because that's always something that's so cool.
Oh yeah, I almost got stuck.
Yeah.
I was like 16 and I'm in these like giant rubber boots and I'm walking through the muddy mud and I just about got like I just sunk.
Have I become cement? Am I now one with the earth?
Am
Yeah.
I am I stuck here forever? No, so one of the construction guys came by and he pulled me out and kind of like walked me over.
With a
I
big
was very
squelch.
grateful. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. It was like for me being in a place where it's like it was very predominantly men.
Hmm.
Because yeah, my mom, she was one. She has stories about when she was going to university and stuff like that. When she was going to graduate when she graduated, they do the ring ceremony for the engineers, and they
Hmm.
didn't want her in.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah,
"I'm getting my ring. I worked hard
yeah.
for this."
That's one
So
thing that I think they've just recently caught up. Was it 2 or 3 years ago when they redid the oath and the ring ceremony so that it was gender inclusive? I think it
I
was.
actually don't know.
I think it was about. I feel like it was about 3 years ago. My husband's an engineer as well, and he attended it and he came out and he was like, "Whoa." He's like, that ceremony is was like, whoa.
Mm,
I said, in what way? He's um, like he's like, just gender? He said it like my mind's kind of blown. So yeah, the update was happening I think 3, maybe 4 years ago. Time goes faster as I as I stick around longer. But yeah, that was part of it. So she insisted, and how did that go for her?
oh, she got to do the ceremony.
Yeah. But what is like how would that even feel? Like we don't, you can have your ring but don't attend the ceremony. Like what kind of junk is that, hey?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is quite silly, and
Wow.
that's kind of one of the things too. Is like I really do appreciate about the ISAC is like right now. I mean, we're a small organization, but we are right now predominantly women. So we're five, a team of five, busy doing that, and our director of threat intelligence, um, female, our data analyst, female, and then there's me. One of our and I also appreciate the fact that like the very first we have an annual conference we have every year in November. And the first one that I got to help with, the speakers were about 50-50. So we had equal number of women speakers to equal number of men speakers. And it wasn't something that like
Wow.
we had deliberately done. It was just those were the people that we wanted to come because of their expertise, of their values, not because of we don't actively seek it out, but if it
Yeah.
happens, then it's like this is great. Like this is
That's
amazing.
that's awesome. And it's something too, I think if we were to go into an imaginary world where we did have, gender equity and we had gender representation that was 50-50, I think most things would end up like that
Mhm.
because we would be able to focus more on the skills. And I can't remember what prompted the thought the other day, but oh, it was something that came up on a LinkedIn post that someone had commented on, and it was a really old post. I was like, I don't remember this post. I went back, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this post, okay. And it was the notion that often women have more hurdles to overcome, and when they get where they want to be, they're usually quite amazingly skilled and amazingly expert at what they do, and intensely interested, because I think if we were to set aside all the gender stuff, that's a significant amount of what women manage, just to be at work, is they work through a lot of that stuff and those issues, and it just becomes part of the challenge of working, the muck that we can get stuck in, for example.
Yeah.
We get used to it. And and then in this role, in this, in doing the podcast, I get to talk with people of different generations, and specifically with you and your mom. Your mom was going through a lot of that, and I don't think that you necessarily went through the same types of things. I think it's shifted in a good way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also feel like I have been very lucky in regards to a lot of like, I've had many strong women role models in my life. And so when I get told that, it's like we need more women role models, I'm like, well, aren't there enough already? Like, what am I missing here? I don't understand. Like that's not my lived experience.
There you
But
go.
as like I've grown and I've experienced more things. Like I see it now. Like I do understand and I do see why people want, you know,
Yeah.
they want more of that representation because while I was surrounded by it, not everybody gets that. And I think I would love to see that change.
Yeah, and it's great when you realize that it was it was rare when you compare it to general data, but for you, it was just that way. And I think that's a wonderful perspective to take into your work. I think there's something really cool about that as well. And, for women to be like, oh, well, of course, that's just how it is. That's I think a wonderful goal. So to have that upbringing and that experience and being able to go out into the field with your mom and all of those things, I think, more young women, more girls will have that experience, and it will be just a little bit more run of the mill to have, women in the workplace and everything else. The other thing I love about doing the podcast is being able to talk with women who are in different facets of the industry where difference is being made, but it's not necessarily as visible. So, in your role, what are you getting to see in the groups that you work with that we might not see, or that you can, shine a little light on for us?
Overall, cybersecurity is very male dominant. And, I've seen and heard stories of like when people go to these conferences and they're women, they're like how dramatic things can like shift with the government in place. So like the one year they I think it was Black Hat, but they had like models dressed with they had lampshades on,
Oh,
like they were being lights for the
hmm.
display at this place. And the year previous to that, it was not. Um, there was, and yeah, it just kind of like opened my eyes to like how quickly things can revert and potentially go backwards, which was a little terrifying. I was like, really?
So
That was a
women
conversation you had?
women were presented as furniture?
Yeah,
Literally.
literally. Yeah, they had little lampshades on, and it did cause quite a bit of a stir in the community.
Oh,
Um, Actually, one year someone was handing out pink fuzzy handcuffs.
oh my goodness.
as like kind of like part of like because like you're locked up, you're locked out, it was supposed to be a planned thing. It was just very poorly taken.
Oh, yeah, because a joke needs to be funny for everyone.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think people forget that sometimes. Like
Uh,
you have there's an audience for that, and if you're doing a
oh,
niche joke or niche humor with that, then you're potentially going to offend some people, and rightfully
wow.
so.
I'm reeling a little actually. I'm like, what would it feel like to be in that room? I would, as someone who wasn't wearing a lampshade, you know,
Yeah,
and it's like, wowza, that's interesting. Um, yeah, I haven't come across that. I was in conversation with the speaker and she was asking me something, and we were very clearly in a conversation, and this older fella stepped right in and introduced himself. We were literally in the middle of talking to each other, and she looked at me like, "What is happening?" And I looked at her and I was like, "This is happening.
this is exactly yeah,
This
and
is what's
there is
happening."
still that in the space. There
But
is still that.
it was wild. I mean, that was a few years ago now, and I think there are a lot more, there are more women speaking, more women with keynotes and all of that. But I was still like, wow, I've read about this, but here it is playing out in front of me.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's like there's like for me, it was one of those eye opening moments of like how quickly things could go backwards.
Hmm.
Um, because like I was like you're going forwards, like you can't go backwards once you go forwards, but
Mm.
apparently you can.
The world
um,
today is telling us differently.
mhm.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I think
very,
one of the things I like about our space too, or particularly with the ISAC too. Again, it's just like again, I think I'm very lucky. Like even in our board of directors too. Like we have a female chair right now. Like our chair of the board of directors is a wonderful woman who is she's great. I don't know. I love how she handles everything. Her dedication to the ISAC, to her job. It's just really inspiring to see. One of our biggest sharers last year too, who would share and collaborate with the ISAC a lot. Also female, wonderful lady.
and are they your generation or the generation before? I'm always a little curious about that.
That is a great question. I'm going to have to start guessing people's ages now. um, I think we're about close about the same generation. So like
Okay.
I
I
took a,
think that I think
I
that
did the whole
matters
stay at
too.
mom home thing for a while.
Yeah.
So like I actually was when after my stay at home mom stint, 2020 hit and my life kind of blew up a little bit. So there was a bunch of coming back from that, and part of
Yeah.
that was like building a career for myself. So
Hmm.
I definitely feel like in career wise, I started a little later, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're about my generation. 80s, so like millennials,
Okay.
maybe a little
Um,
bit of Gen X.
yeah, I'm a little bit Gen X. I don't I don't know where we're at, like our kids, and I did stay at home mom for a while as well when we were traveling. And it was one of the things when we were traveling is still in the language in all of the documentation and everything is that I was called the trailing spouse. And I went, ew, that's like I didn't I'm like, honey, wait for me. Like that's how it felt. I was like, what do you mean a
Yeah,
trailing spouse? Are you kidding? How about accompanying? Like I had some autonomy and some choice in the matter and everything else. And some of the places we went, like I business wise, um, commercially, I barely existed on paper. Like I needed, um, like it was my husband's account and he needed to sign for these things. I couldn't open utilities in my name, even with all of my identification. Like it was a real eye opener for me. And I was like, wowza. So now whenever I write anything, I always just refer to myself as an accompanying spouse. And I was like, trailing, that sounds so pathetic.
I understand that. Like that was that, yeah, because I had to do one of the things I did is with when my ex-husband, we lived in Baltimore for a little bit, and that was an experience as well. But
Oh,
yeah, I had to get the spouse visa, which meant I could not work at all. Like
yeah.
I literally had to stay at home. Like
Yeah.
there was
And
nothing I could do because
yeah.
if I did anything on the side to make some money, I was probably going to get kicked out of the country.
Yeah, and it just was not an option. And that part of it I was fine with. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm not the one here to work, but I was like, but I should be able to have my own credit card if as long as he signs off on it. Like he shouldn't have to sign every transaction, right?
Hmm.
It was wild.
I should be able to sign underneath the credit card that we're using for the family. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if he's the one at the work, I could go around and get the utilities sorted out or the bills in the name and all those sorts of things. But yeah, that's just some of the logistics that you don't know until you experience them. Like being in a meeting with or at a conference with women wearing lampshades.
Yeah.
It's like,
I wasn't in attendance for that one, but I certainly heard all of the stories about that.
woo. Yeah. And I wonder what their conference the year after was like. Whoever did that. I don't know. I
I
think
didn't get any stories for that one.
oh,
I think
so it sounds like they learned like
I
how
think so.
what to not do.
But
Yeah.
I think no, was it? No, I actually I should probably ask about that. It's like, so how was the there was nothing that really blew up on LinkedIn anyway for sure
I
on
was
the
the year
conference I was
after.
talking about the reference.
Yeah. And like not to just like I say, like the joke I think needs to be funny for everyone. And
Hmm.
and when it's not, that's an issue. But I think, women are generally workplaces, I think, are getting, better, stronger, more balanced as far as, what's okay and what isn't okay. I think. Like I'm hoping. The ones that I've been at have been good ones.
Yeah, like this one of the conferences I go to a lot is TIM Connect, and they're
Hmm.
freaking it's a great conference. Like
Hmm.
it's got great representation. Um and yeah, there's nothing overly ridiculous that ends up there, especially in a gendered sense too. Like I can talk with anybody, and I don't like it's very engaging.
I feel that one is very egalitarian is the one that popped into my mind. Like that conference in particular is one that I've gone to and volunteered at and presented at and done a lot of things there because I do like it and appreciate it and I've never felt anything but welcome.
Hmm.
And I think that's a key and that's good and a lot of companies do that. And I think in defense of companies that don't have balance yet, just some awareness of what the balance means for everyone who works there, I think would be amazing. Getting back, I'm still really interested in what your work is on the daily. So I'm getting a picture of the resource companies coming to you. Is it like alarm systems? Like, do they come to you after something bad has happened, or do they come to you in prevention?
Okay, so one of the things I do is that I organize a lot of our meetings. So like we have a monthly membership meeting where we go through and we talk about what's been going on, what the ISAC is up to, as well as like we give a kind of a threat update on um, items that have happened and things that we have noticed. So like we do share things like that the steel industry got really hammered in the past 2 quarters in regards to attempts and attack incidents in general. And also like we track which actors are doing what and numbers in regards to that. Um, Often then at the end of that particular meeting, we do open it up for discussion, and we turn off the recordings because there's sometimes sensitivity in regarding to the topics that do get talked about.
Yeah.
But that's when the members are open to share about things like if they're coming across, I think if they're experiencing email bombing, or if they're experiencing insider threat moments, or if they're experiencing potential, or even if they're looking for solutions for like, there's a whole shift going on away from VPN networks. And they're looking for solutions that are more cloud-based, or like what does cloud-based resiliency look like? And they can start having those kind of discussions. So it's not just about the threat actors and the threat landscape, but it's also about what other organizations are doing. And if they're having struggles with it, then they have a peer-to-peer network that they can communicate with and brainstorm a little bit with other organizations.
Mm-hmm. And think about what their architecture is. I remember I was working with a client and I got an email and I was like, this is really weird. I'm just gonna like I quickly
Phishing.
shuffled it back. Yeah. And I got the most affirming, thank you for helping us. Good job recognizing this. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of positive reinforcement.
Yeah, phishing has actually been kind of like a
Yeah.
big talk that we've been having lately, because we actually someone finally did the research on the effectiveness of phishing campaigns. Phishing campaigns are basically when the cybersecurity team or your IT team basically tries to trick you into clicking a phishing link.
Yep.
And often they're kind of done as a gotcha. Um,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we tricked you, but like the research shows that the phishing campaigns like that aren't actually really effective. Because what happens is
You don't want to report.
you don't want to report.
Yeah.
You also, like, you get, there's a kind of a shame thing. It's like, well, you click this phishing link, so now you have to go do some more training and awareness. But
Yep.
the training and the awareness afterwards actually don't prevent you from clicking the link. Like, everybody is phishable.
Yeah.
And depending on, and the team has control of the alert, like how good a phishing email is, again, in a campaign, is completely in control, and it's biased. So if you make a super great phishing campaign, you're going to get everybody,
You're gonna catch
because
them. Yeah.
we're human.
We're human
So
and we're busy and we're getting things done in the day. Yeah.
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 So our thing is that, and if we've shown that actually potentially, like, the negative phishing campaigns have an often chance to increase the chance that somebody's going to click on a link afterwards too.
Ironic.
So it makes it worse.
Aren't we weird creatures?
We are.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we're trying to do too, is we want to get organizations to switch how they do their phishing campaigns so that it's in consideration with humans in mind. Because as long as IT teams give people mouses to click with, we're probably going to click on the thing. But if your organizational resilience is going to completely fall apart because somebody clicked a phishing link, then you're not really resilient either.
Right. And how many layers do you have and all of these different things? It's fascinating. Like I'm old enough to have done, like, I did computers in high school and I was the only girl in the class for my entire time in high school. I was the only girl taking those classes. And I mean, obviously I'm not a coder. However, like, that's just to say how much has changed in just my career span. And the boggling amount of data that gets transferred every day, the vulnerabilities, all of those different things, and organizations trying to stay ahead of it. And like you were saying, like, keep the human factor of it working, because we've got all of these systems, but what do they have in common? They're all used by people. So the people aspect of it, I find really fascinating in what you're doing as well. So when you're doing your analyses, what are your data sources? Like how are you tracking these things? Like how do you find these things out? So if someone wants to engage with you, what are they getting when they engage with your organization?
Sherry and Julie, they do a lot of our data analysis. Where we get the data from, um, a lot of it does come from something called the dark web.
Okay.
We will go looking for it.
Okay.
And we look for our member organizations. We look for anybody who's in the mining or in the mining sector, because like we want to get a good read on that.
Yeah.
We do get shares from our organization. There's a sharing policy that we have in place. So we follow, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's called the traffic light protocol. It basically gives a sensitivity rating to the information that is being shared. So for instance, TPL red, that is something that is like, do not share at all. It's a, kind of mild joke, like ideas like, it's TPL Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. There's
Right.
TPL Amber Strict, which means it's only for within the organization. So only our members can share it. It shouldn't go out past our membership. TPL Amber, kind of very similar, a little bit more flexibility. TPL Clear is like, it's free use. Like I could talk about it openly on the podcast here. Like that's
Okay.
by some of the times where I've brought up like some of the incidents I've brought up. I just mentioned that that's what it was, not who was associated with it.
Right. So you have a lot of insight that comes to you, but you also go out and get it. So you're almost like on patrol as well.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. I watched a terrifying TED Talk on YouTube the other day, and it was just you triggered it with the dark web. And it was
the name's even sneaky.
right. And it was these two guys came across a murder for hire site.
Yep.
And
You
I was
can get
like,
ransomware as a service.
is
That's
this
actually
real?
largely what happens, is that, and that's part of one of our things, is that threat actors, they share all of their tools fairly freely on these websites. Like
Because they
one
need
of the
someone to sponsor them.
well, yeah, that's basically it, right? Is like
Yeah.
they just want somebody to come use their tools and give them some money. But like I've seen screenshots of like ransomware sites, and one of them had like, they have timers on them, and that was timers to when you could go and just buy it. You could go buy the data that they had. They had anything from schools to other mines to
Oh,
there's lots of schools. Like academia is actually gets hit a lot.
undersecured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just have the company name, and then you could even get like a little preview of what potentially is in the data. And in some cases, like that's one of the things with the ransomware, is that like in some cases the threat actor doesn't care if the organization is the one that pays them. It could be anybody.
Yeah, as long as they get paid.
Yep.
There's a terrifying criminality at play here. Yeah, like and not like person to person violence, but almost like organizational. It is organizational attack, and the
Yeah.
consequences of it are, if you run a few of these things down, the consequences of it are huge.
Yep. You can have some really big consequences. Because right, it depends on like the threat actor too. Like, are they potentially, like, it's one thing to pay a person, a random like college student who's just trying to get more money for like tuition or whatever, to somebody who's actually doing it and taking that fund and then say funding a terrorist group, because then all of a sudden you're inadvertently
Mhm.
funding terrorism, and that has legal implications. Blah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I'm mentally going down several tracks that are, they have very bad outcomes at the end of them. So, This is something that I have not thought about. And then in the last 2 days, two amazing stories from dark web kinds of things where it's, the constantly playing catch up, I think is probably the theme, and knowing that something is probably going to happen, and then what happens if it does. So in that sense, it almost sounds to me like a cyber version of safety.
Hmm.
Like this is why we have emergency response drills. This is why we have, safety scenarios that we run. And these are amazing times that we're in. And I think the measures that people go to are kind of mind-boggling in the scope and the reach. Like this reaches across borders, it reaches across industries.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a strong geopolitical
yeah.
aspect to it, because they're not restricted by country laws. Like it's an international problem, so to speak. And we
I was
oh
thinking,
yeah, because right, they again, it is a little bit of catch up, because right now there's AI involved as well. Like we do get talk about how threat actors are using AI in regards to being able to get access to your systems, be it deep fakes, which are
that's
the
that's where my mind went. Yeah.
Mhm. And then there's also an AI voice overlay that exists now that can make you sound like you're from anywhere in the world. So you could be experiencing some email botting, which is basically where your inbox just gets spammed with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails, and the spam blockers aren't catching it, because what they do is they will use different domains to do it with,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll get this helpful call from this gentleman who just sounds like he's from Texas, is here to help you, but he's actually not from Texas. He's
Yeah.
from some other country, and it when you and there's psychology involved with that, because when
Oh,
you
yeah.
are talking with somebody who sounds like you, there's a
Yeah.
sense of rapport that gets built right off
Yeah.
that basis.
Your
You feel like,
wariness is not triggered. Yeah.
yeah,
And they get in, and this is fascinating. I could listen to this and ask you questions for ages. And we did talk a little bit about, being a woman and doing this work, but um, for me, this is just fascinating work that you're doing. And your path into it, I think, was amazing. And, I love that women working in the resource industry was just an everyday for you. And I hope that for a lot more women as well. So,
I do too, because it's like there's definitely a lot of like strength when you are pioneering, like especially when you have those pioneer role models that basically
mhm.
pioneered into those kind of fields to get access to that work. And then
Yeah. And
like
I love too that the motivation was not to be a pioneer. The motivation was the work. The motivation was
yeah,
the woman's interest in it, her interest in science, in the resource industry, in all of these, things. Like you have to really care about it to pursue it with and
yeah,
overcome the things that need overcoming. So,
yeah,
this
because
was
her
great.
dad was a civic engineer in Edmonton. So
Okay.
she just follows his footsteps a little bit in a slightly different way. But like, yeah, she was like, engineering makes great money. It's really interesting. Like
Yeah.
she has a huge love for physics. Like she's and very, very, very smart lady. My mom is great that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
it
yeah, no.
seems her daughter's no slouch either. Yeah. The interest and the keen energy about it. It's clear to me that you share that.
Yeah,
And
it's cybersecurity has been far more interesting than I thought it would have been. Wait, what? You tell me that like when I was like a teenager, like I'm busy. I grew up. I did a lot of video gaming as well. So like as a girl on online gaming was a kind of similar experience that way. It's like a lot of those moments where I felt like, I felt the minority,
Yeah.
because trying to make friends with people in different places, I'm trying to talk to some ladies, some women, and I game, and they're like, "Oh, really? What's that like?" And I'm like, "You got okay."
Like you've got a computer and you play on it.
You play games? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And they're strategy games and they get you thinking. And
oh, I love strategy games. They're my favorite.
did you realize you were training for your future work when you were gaming?
Uh, no.
No.
No. Well, I mean, but then like as I was like, one of the things while I was reflecting on like what I wanted to do, like in regards, especially with the administration, like what did I do in the games a lot? Like I found myself in positions of like, gaming groups, their guilds, like they coordinate gaming raids, they coordinate community events,
Yeah.
they get together. There's a lot of collaboration stuff, and that's like the stuff I really enjoyed facilitating, was like, building places for people to get together. And
I couldn't love that anymore. Yeah.
yeah, it's great. And that's why one of my favorite things is like I like that's why one of my favorite things to do as working for the ISAC is helping plan our annual conference. And it's like I get to do, bringing a space where people can network and get the support. Like my descriptor for my job is like I am passion support. Like I loved
Oh,
supporting people
that's awesome.
in their passions.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I hope we get to talk again sometime soon. And if we're at CIM the next time, I'll make sure that I let you know where I'll be
Okay,
and
awesome.
and
I'd love
see what
that.
you're up to there as well. That's fantastic. It has been great talking with you this morning. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been fun.
Awesome. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Resourceful Women is a product of the Prospector News. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speaker and speaker alone. Resourceful Women is for educational and entertainment purposes, and nothing in the podcast should be taken as investment advice. Always consult with a licensed personal financial advisor before making any investment purchases.